Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. And in today's program, I'm going to take all the emotion, all the bearish sentiment, all the panic, all the confusion out of the Bitcoin picture by looking at both the bullish case as well as the bearish case and trying to keep a level head as to what the charts are telling us, because they are the only guide that we have. We should really be very careful making any decisions in this market based on sentiment and emotion, because you're very likely to make the wrong move and the wrong decision, which will give you the wrong outcome. But before we start, the usual disclaimer, please remember that all my videos are for educational purposes only. Nothing in any of my videos should be taken as financial advice. Please do your wider research before making any financial decisions on your investments. So with that out of the way, without further ado, remember it's Sunday, it's time for your Snickers bar and your cup of tea with your eyes glued on the screen. Let's get cracking. I'm going to start off with this chart that I've been showing you for many months now. This is my long-term chart for Bitcoin. And there are only 3 lines that you ever need to know. If you want to just have a look at one chart amongst all the charts of Bitcoin and all the indicators for Bitcoin, this would be the one that would be your default chart, because this gives you virtually everything that you need to know about where Bitcoin is going and where it's coming from and where we are currently at the moment. So what we've got is these 3 lines here. We've got a red line at the top, which is your resistant line, and the red line at the bottom, which is our support line. And then we've got this blue line in the middle, which is our guiding missile, which is telling us exactly the price levels that Bitcoin is going to weave in and out, above and below, over the next many years. It's obviously based on this historical chart here. So if we look at the bottom line here, this is an 11-year-old support line. So we started off here from this price, and it's culminated in this support here, this large support there, and guess where we are now? We're on our support line here. That should give you a clue as to where we're going, and all the doom mongers who are calling for 13 and 14,000. Yes, that's a possibility. As I mentioned in my last video, we could go down to 14,000. Of course we could. But what does this line say? If we were rational people, which we're not, but if we were, and we took out all the emotion and all the sentiment that's in the market at the moment, we would look at this red support line here and come to the conclusion that with all this support over such a long period of time, then we would conclude that with a very high degree of probability that we're going to bounce off this line here. And as rational people with a lot of emotional intelligence, we would also know that, yes, it's possible to go down below this line. Of course it is. We can't determine what Bitcoin does. What we can do is to respond to what Bitcoin will do. And with the historical perspective that we've got here, we can come to a very good insight into exactly what Bitcoin is more than likely to do. And this would suggest, with a high degree of probability, notwithstanding that, yes, it can fall down to 14,000 and 20,000 and everything else in between, but this would suggest otherwise. On the blue line, we can see quite clearly the resistant line here, support, a huge amount of support here. It didn't fall at these points here. I remember when we were going through these points, people were so bearish. And at that time, I didn't have that line. But now looking back on it, it was exactly the support that we needed before we had the culmination of this blow off top in 2017. Then when we came back and broke down on here, we broke this support line, and guess where we went? All the way down to this red line here as support. But before we did that, we tried to get back up to break this line again, and we got stopped out exactly at this line again. So we know that this line is proving to be a very relevant, very important trend line for us in the future. So here we came very close to it again here, but obviously we haven't made it. But if you look at the larger pattern here, you can see quite clearly this is a W double bottom pattern. Where are we going to go from here? Of course, we're going to go towards the top here. So if we make it to the top, wherever we are, and I've been mentioning this for many months now, that once we get to the point here at this blue line, we're going to have a correction. And that would be a very good opportunity for us to accumulate more Bitcoin or altcoins or everything else, because obviously Bitcoin is the driver, and what Bitcoin does, others follow. Now, the reason why I've got this red resistant line at the top here is because that line is going to determine our top in this cycle. So if we move to the right hand side here, it gives us a clue as to where we might possibly top out in this cycle. Now, my target of 300,000, if you've been watching my videos from nearly 2 years ago, I've been mentioning this target that we were going to meet this more than likely around October 2021. But it looks like with the way the price is moving, that we could be either end of 2021 this year, or if the price for Bitcoin follows these 3 lines here, which is quite possible, then where these 2 lines meet, the blue line and the resistant top line, the red line here, that takes it to around here, around April 2023. Now, I'm not saying that the market's going to go all the way there. I'm just saying that these 2 lines are crossing there. Obviously, Bitcoin can top out any time before that. But certainly, I would hazard a guess that it's going to be in between this line and this line here, between December 2021 and April 2023. If we have an extended cycle, quite a lot of people have talked about an extended cycle. I still think, in my heart of hearts, that we're going to have a massive bounce anywhere around here, and we're going to be culminating in a very big blow off top within a few months, and that could actually take us to around about the $350,000 mark at the end of this year. If we fail to do that and we take a slow approach, then we're obviously going to be in between these 2 lines here. But certainly this long-term chart here shows us quite clearly in which direction we're heading. It seems unlikely to me, although I recognize there is a possibility, of course, we can go much lower. But this support line, when you zoom out and you look at the big facts on the chart, then it's telling us that we're more than likely going to bottom out very shortly here. Either we've already bottomed out or we are very close to it before we make the next move up from here in this direction. Let me know what you think in the comments below, if you think that this is a very plausible outcome for Bitcoin. So moving on to the other indicators, which is mainly the RSI, the stochastic RSI, the MACD, and the hash ribbons. I showed you the hash ribbons in the last video, that we're about to get a blue dot very close to here, which is very close to the price action we've got now here. So we would be expecting a bullish uptrend here, simply based on the previous blue dots, as I showed you in the last video, that every time we have a blue dot, that's your buy signal. And it's never let anybody down. This is the greatest indicator of all, I find, the hash ribbons, because it's never been wrong. It's been accurate for all the 11 years that we've had the Bitcoin charts. So as you can see from here, would have been a great buying opportunity. This one here, a good buying opportunity. Obviously, we fell in this COVID situation, but it went on and became a very good buying opportunity, etc. here as well. The important one to look at on this chart is really the RSI here. The important line here to draw would be from this point here. I'll change this color to make it look better visually. The main thing to look at here is that we're making a higher low from this point to that point on the RSI. But if we look at the price action up here, now it doesn't look very clear on the price action on the candle side, but if we turn that into the line chart like we do, So we can see clearly now on the line chart that in the price action, we're making a lower low, while in the RSI, we're making a higher low. So there is clear divergence with the price. So we would expect a bullish turn up here. So we need to keep our eye on this. If we break this trend line, this white trend line, then we may have a little bit more to go or a lot more to go. But certainly it's very important that we keep above this trend line here. If we look at the stochastic RSI, we can see that we're really right at the bottom here. And if we look historically, this is a weekly chart, so this is a long-term chart. If we just zoom out, we can see that historically, whenever we're at the bottom here, is usually a very good point to buy. And again here, this was the COVID-19 situation here, etc. You would be well versed that when we're at the bottom of a stochastic RSI, you're at or very close to the bottom of the chart here. And again, this is showing us we're at the bottom here, and that with a high degree of probability, we're going to be moving to the upside. With the MACD, we can see that there is a bearish turn here. But the important thing to remember with MACD is that it's a lagging indicator. It's just following the price as it's occurring here. The important thing to have a look at here would be the bars. Just like over here, the green bars, when they started changing color as the price was falling here, that was telling us that we're moving into a bearish phase here. And similarly, we've gone from the red bars into the lighter red bars, which should culminate in the green bars coming and the MACD turning back up. So while we've been having the price falling here in the last 3 weeks, the last 3 bars have actually here been more bullish. So maybe this is now a turning round pattern on the MACD here. Moving on to these very important moving averages. What we've got is the white line, which is the 50 weekly moving average, and the green line, which is your 200 weekly moving average. And if we look historically, the green line has always proved to be the bottom of the market. If you can catch the price on the green line, that's the time to sell your house, your car, your jewelry, your bed, everything else, and move into Bitcoin. Just remember, this is not financial advice, that's just a joke. You get my point? This is the time when you go all in into Bitcoin. So if the price did ever come back down here, this is where you would really be all in. And many people are predicting that price is going to come all the way down here, which is around about the 13.5. And obviously it's a line that was going up, but it's now flattening off. So it'll be around the 13.5, 14,000 mark in the next few weeks. The important thing with this chart is that we very rarely hit the 50 moving average during a bull market. So if you look from here, in this cycle, we never really touched the 50 moving average until we'd passed the top of that cycle. So when we came back down, we bounced off it, tried to rally from there, but then eventually we came back to the green line. Similarly here, we never touched this 50 moving average until we'd already topped off. We came back, retested this 50 moving average, bounced off, and then when we came back down to it, we came back to the 200 moving average. This time seems to be different. It's my belief that we haven't topped off. It looks like a very different market here for the first time that we've actually, in a bull market, come back and tested the 50 moving average. However, like the other 2 cycles, with a high degree of probability, just based on 2 data points, we can say that it's going to at least bounce off here. And because we don't think it's topped off, we would come to the conclusion that we're not going to come back and retest it and go back down to the green line. Of course it can do that, that's the possibility. But the higher probability would be that we would be on our way to the next phase of this bull run and this cycle. Of course, if we break this line here, that would be unprecedented, because whenever we've tested it the first time, it's never gone through to the 200 moving average. So if this happened this time, then that would be very bearish. Am I expecting that? No, I'm not. But obviously, as people who are investing here with emotional intelligence, we have to always consider the worst case scenario. And yes, the possibility is there, but the probability is not. And we always need to take a neutral stance, a neutral view. Like anything in life, it's always best to be in the neutral position, because that way you can move into any gear in any direction you want to, because you're in that neutral position. And by doing that, you take the emotion out of the situation. So very important that we keep our eye on this. As you can see, we're on this week, we've touched it once more here. So we've hit it there and we're on it, virtually on the line here. So very critical that we hold this 50 moving average in the next few weeks. Moving on to the dollar chart on the weekly time frame, I showed you this in the last few videos. We can see quite clearly that we got rejected at this trend line here, and this is a trend line going back over here. We made 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts here, and what's interesting here is these wicks. The long wicks here tell you that there is a strong rejection of the dollar going higher at these points. However, we need to keep our eye on this. If we should break to the upside, then as we know, the dollar has an inverse relationship with Bitcoin. So as the dollar goes up, Bitcoin comes down and vice versa. As we can see, when we look at the chart side by side, since the COVID situation here, as we went down here, the dollar went up. And then in this market, the bullish market that we've had, as we've been going up in Bitcoin, the dollar has been going down. And currently, dollar's been going up while we've been going down. So there's an inverse relationship between the dollar and the Bitcoin price. So what we would really expect is for Bitcoin to be dependent on what happens with the dollar here. If the dollar starts moving up here, we can expect a fall further. Am I expecting that? Not really, no. I think this is a very strong trend line here. And it appears with the way the candlestick patterns are developing here, with a rejection of higher prices on 2 major weekly candles, the likelihood is that we're going to come back down here, while the price for Bitcoin I would be expecting to go up. If you want to support the channel, then please click on any of my videos, and then below the videos you'll find a box called Show More, which gives you a description box, and in that description box is the affiliate link with Etoro that I have. So I partner up with Etoro because that's the main exchange I use for all my investments. These are the reasons why I tend to use Etoro. It's a very simple exchange to use in terms of depositing money and withdrawing the money, as well as trading if that's what you want to do, as well as for long-term investing, which is what I tend to do. So if you want to support the channel, please click on the partnership link, and then what you'll do is you'll get this box here, and then you can basically put your username, email and password and just fill in the form there. If you like any of my videos and you find value in them, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If we have a look at the Fibonacci retracement from the last low point here and take it to the top, this is where the current Bitcoin rally started, around about this time here, August, September, October last year. So if you take this long-term Fibonacci retracement to the top there, and we know that there is a very high degree of affinity with Bitcoin to the 61.8 golden pocket levels here, at the 61 and the 65%. And guess where we are? We're right on there. So we would expect Bitcoin to bounce from there rather than go below. Yes, the 78.6 is also very important, and that would be at the 21,500 level at the moment. So obviously it can go down there, but the 61.8 is the one that we normally bounce from, and that's why I would expect it to be bouncing from there very shortly. Okay, so we've had a look at the bullish case, so the picture looks quite rosy that we should really be going up from where we are now. However, we have to balance this out and realize that, yes, at no point are there always 100% bullish factors or 100% bearish factors. There's always a mix of the two. And the two bearish factors that I'm mainly concerned about, if we just zoom in on this part of the current price, if we draw this line here, you can see quite clearly on this trend line that we've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we've just had another 7th attempt. For 7 weeks we've been trying to break this trend line, and the understanding in technical analysis is that the more attempts you make to break a trend line, then the more chances is that we're going to break it eventually. So we've had 7 goes, but on the flip side of that, if it hasn't broken for 7 weeks, that means this is very, very strong. This to me is a weakness in the price, that we've had many opportunities to get away from here, and we've not managed to get away from this trend line for the last 7-8 weeks now. So this is quite a bearish pattern in terms of where we are currently and why we're finding it very difficult to move away to the upside. But as I've said, this is a W pattern that's developing here. So on the flip side of that is that it's obviously a bullish pattern that's developing, while at the same time we're making these attempts at breaking this trend line. Yes, eventually we could break this down and then we'll be on the way down. However, we're holding strong at the moment here. And we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But certainly we need to consider this trend line for the last 2 months. The other bearish case is obviously this case that I've shown you many times before, which is the 21 exponential moving average. Historically, we've never really gone below this in a bull market. Not only have we gone below it, we've actually maintained a status quo for many, many weeks now. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 weeks we've been below this line now. And we've not managed to get back above it. And if there was a bullish nature, a bullish momentum, we would have pushed through back above this line. And we've not managed to do that. So what is telling me there is still bearish sentiment and momentum in the price action here. If we are to move back to the upside, we need to get back above this 21 exponential moving average and use it as a support before we move to the upside. So it's very, very critical that we get above this 21 weekly exponential moving average. That would, for me, be a very strong sign that we're now back in the bull market again here. And currently this price is at around the 40,000 mark. So that's very, very important. If we can get up to the 40,000 mark, that would be at the top of this, the wick of this candle here, there, around the 41,000. If we draw this line here, that seems to be coinciding with the 21 weekly exponential moving average. So we need to get above this range of the 42, 43,000, and then we're good to go back to the upside. We need to clear this here. A quick look at the Bitcoin miners, especially Marathon Digital Holdings. And I've been showing you this for many weeks now, that once we break this neckline here, we're usually very good to go. As you saw from previously, we broke that neckline here, and we had this massive rise here of around about 87%. And as this was coming up to this neckline, I've been mentioning that we're going to be coming above this, retesting this as support, which we've done that twice now, here and here. And I said to you that when it was going up here, that we're more than likely going to come back at lower levels, and that would be a great opportunity to buy in. So I've been accumulating here again at these levels. Obviously, this is not financial advice. You can do whatever you want, but this is what the chart is telling me. And I mentioned this gravestone doji candle here at the top when we came to this, that more than likely we're going to get rejected here. And this would provide a very good buying opportunity at around about the 26 levels. And it's come right on the 26 level here and we've now got a candle above it. And that red candle's already closed on Friday because the Bitcoin miners don't trade on the weekends. So we bounced off the 26. We're currently at 27.69. So the chart would be saying that we're now good to go to the upside. And we're following this trajectory here. If you draw the trend lines here, you can see that we're following this pattern. So the next leg up would be to the $39.40 mark here. Similarly for RIOT blockchain, we broke the necklines here. And as I've been mentioning to you for the last many weeks now, we've come up to these necklines. We've broken through, come back as support, and we're moving up towards the higher side now. And again, we had this gravestone doji here, got a pullback. Maybe we're not going to get a pullback to these levels of $27, $28 mark because we're following this trajectory here. So we're in this channel at this point here. So it doesn't look to me as though we're going to come back down to these lower levels now. So we're really at the bottom of that support line. And this is a great opportunity for me. So if you're looking at the longer term picture, then this candle here, a great buying opportunity because we're only going to be going up from there by the looks of it, from the chart here. No, obviously not financial advice. This is what I see in the charts. Just a reminder that if you want to buy the Bitcoin miners, then one of the ways to do it, and the way I do it, is to actually just go onto the Etoro website here, and I have an affiliate link, as you know. And once you've signed up with Etoro, you'll be able to have access to not just the Bitcoin miners, but to the other altcoins as well as Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's a very simple process. If you click the link here, you'll go to the Etoro website. You can just fill in your details over here on the right-hand side, and basically you'll have access to them very shortly afterwards. So that's the bullish and the bearish cases as I see it. No doubt there are many other indicators showing bullish and bearish factors. I've shown you the most important ones to me. I hope you found value in that. And if you did, then please remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. Okay, quickly moving on to the wisdom bite. It's only a short one, so please don't turn off at this point because this black dot story will completely transform the way you look at your life. Everything that I bring on the wisdom bites is there to help transform people's lives for the better, for the positive. That's why I do these wisdom bites at the end. I know some of you would turn it off at this point, but really I would say this is the most important part of the video, and I get more benefit out of this than the actual chart analysis. So what is this black dot? Well, here it is. This is the black dot inspirational story. A teacher asked her students to prepare for a surprise test, and they waited anxiously at their desks for the test to begin. The teacher handed out all the question papers with the text facing down as usual. She asked her students to turn their page and begin. To everyone's surprise, there were no questions, just a black dot in the middle of the page. Seeing the expression on everyone's face, the teacher told them, "I want you to write about what you see there." The students were very confused. At the end of the class, the teacher took up all their answer papers. She started reading each one of them aloud in front of all the students. All of them, with no exceptions, described the black dot, trying to explain its position in the middle of the sheet. After all had been read and the classroom silent, the teacher began to explain. "I'm not going to grade you on this. I just wanted to give you something to think about. No one wrote about the white part of the paper. Everyone was focused on the black dot. And the same happens in our lives. We have a white paper, a blank canvas to observe and enjoy. Yet almost always we focus on the dark spots, the health issues that bother us, the lack of money, complicated relationships we have with our families, the disappointments with a friend. The dark spots are very small compared to everything good in our lives. However, those are what we allow to pollute our minds. Take your eyes away from the black dots in your life and appreciate each moment and blessing that life offers you. So the black dot story, in essence, is really saying to us that while we all have difficulties and obstacles and problems and issues that we have to sort out, if we zoom out like we do on the charts, we can see that those dark spots of our life actually fade into the background when we look at the bigger picture and realize that there's a lot more of the white side, the white paper, rather than the dark spots in our lives that are polluting that picture. And what we want to do is to learn to appreciate the good things rather than focus always on the bad things. In last week's video, you may remember I did the story of the butterfly. And at the end of the butterfly story, I was going to give you some profound quotations which were extremely important, and I accidentally edited them out. So my apologies for that. And I said that in the next week's video, I'll actually bring them to you. And here they are. Very, very important. Please remember that words have impact. Words are very powerful. In my life, I've realized that many words have completely transformed my life. And I'm hoping that when I bring these quotations to you, that it will also have an equally positive impact on your life. The butterfly story was really based on the struggles of life and why when we struggle, we're actually gaining the strength to be able to fly like the butterfly. Because as you know, as the butterfly struggles to get out of the cocoon, that struggle allows the butterfly to have the energy to flow into the wings so that it can fly. And similarly in our life, when we struggle, we're really getting stronger, bigger, better and wiser to be able to do the things that we wouldn't be able to do had we not struggled. And the first quote really sums it up. The greatest opportunities come from rejection or failure because they allow us to reflect and refocus. And it is in those moments which feel like the death of our dreams that our truest potential is actually taking birth. I think if you look at Bitcoin, just like when Bitcoin looks like it's going to be topping off, it's at the bottom of its trend line, when everybody's feeling bad and bearish, that's when it takes off. And that was the right opportunity to really get in at the low level. And similarly, when we're at the bottom of our emotions, when we're feeling sad and miserable and down, and reflecting and refocusing on why we've been rejected from an opportunity or a failure in something, it's that reflection and refocus that actually helps us to develop our potential. But at that moment, we're not aware of it. So this kind of struggle allows us to go through this kind of emotional refocusing. And just like the butterfly, this is what makes us stronger, bigger, better and wiser. We get ourselves up, dust ourselves down, and to go again, this time much stronger. The second one will blow your mind because you'll recognize instantly exactly what it's saying. You won't become who you want to be because you are too attached to who you have been. I think we're all guilty of this. We're so attached to our past, our history. We let our past dictate our future. And we need to make a big detachment from our past. Yes, we should learn from our past, but certainly we should not be dictated by our past, because then our future will be just as our past has been. And if your past hasn't been very good, well, guess what? Your future isn't going to be great either. So we need to be very careful that we don't get attached to the past and focus on what's going to make us better in the future. The final one for today is for all those people who get offended very easily. And I can tell you that's about 95% of the population. It sometimes appears that people are out there wanting to be offended so that they can allow their deep-seated anger and frustration and stress that they've built up over a period of time to allow that to come out. All I would say is getting offended at the slightest thing is very counterproductive for your own interests. If you want to be successful in life, if you want to achieve your dreams, your vision, your goals, your objectives, your targets, if you want to go forward and make progress and improve in life, you can't be offended at every turn. And I want to bring this to you because it will have a great impact and it'll put it into perspective, because this is what I believe in, and that is that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. If you give yourself the permission to be offended, then you will be offended. But why give yourself the permission to be offended? Why let other people distract you from your dreams and goals and visions in life? I always come back in my own life, I always come back to this phrase here. Even if somebody's trying to make you feel inferior, well, the problem is not in my head, the problem is in their head. And I don't want to transfer their problem into my head. And there's a very important saying that I go back to, and I've mentioned it many times. It's a saying by Jim Rohn, and that is that stand guard at the door of your mind. Don't let anybody pour negative ingredients into your mind. It's your decision, it's your power to either allow it or not. And on that note, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you once again for watching the video. If you found value in the video, then please do remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. And if you want to leave any comments, questions or suggestions, then please leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.